Ryan Reynolds' life story is one of those powerful reminders that the road to greatness is never straight, never easy, and never free of scars, because behind his charming smile, quick wit, and global fame lies a man who walked through shadows of depression, rejection, and self-doubt before becoming one of the most beloved and popular actors in the world, and his journey teaches us that no matter how broken or overlooked you feel, you have the power to turn pain into strength, darkness into light, and setbacks into stepping stones towards something greater. Born in Vancouver, Canada, in 1976, Ryan wasn't born into privilege or fame, but rather into a family where discipline was strict, expectations were high, and where he often felt like the odd one out, a boy with big dreams in a world that didn't seem to care. And growing up, he wrestled with anxiety so deep that many nights he would lie awake, gripped by fear of failure and consumed by thoughts that he wasn't good enough, that maybe life had nothing more to offer him than disappointment. Yet in those very struggles he would find the seeds of resilience that would later define his story. Because Ryan wasn't always the superstar we know today, he was once just another aspiring actor who faced endless rejections, doors slammed in his face, auditions that left him humiliated, casting agents who dismissed him as too ordinary or not good enough. And every no cut deep into his soul, making him question whether he belonged in the world of entertainment at all. But instead of quitting, he decided to keep going, even when it felt impossible, because something inside him whispered that his story wasn't meant to end in silence. And while many people around him gave up on their dreams after enough rejection, Ryan refused to let despair define him. He chose to stand back up, time after time, because deep down he believed that pain could either destroy you or transform you, and he was determined to choose transformation. His earliest days in Hollywood were brutal, with barely any money, long nights of loneliness, and the crushing weight of self-doubt pressing down on him. And although he got small roles here and there, none seemed to stick, none seemed to prove he was truly destined for greatness, and yet each role, no matter how small, became a building block, teaching him patience, teaching him perseverance, teaching him that success is not a lightning strike but a fire built slowly, with spark after spark, until the flame catches. And while Ryan's outer world showed the face of a struggling young actor, his inner world was at war, because depression stalked him relentlessly, whispering that he wasn't enough, telling him that failure was inevitable, that no matter how hard he tried, he would never make it. And those thoughts were heavy, almost unbearable. Yet here is where the true inspiration lies. Ryan Reynolds didn't let depression win. He fought it not by denying its presence but by continuing to step forward despite it, by pouring his emotions into his craft, by using humor as both shield and sword, turning what could have been his downfall into one of his greatest strengths. And little by little, his persistence began to pay off. Though it wasn't a straight line to success, because even when small victories came, bigger challenges always followed, reminding him that the climb to greatness is never smooth but filled with storms meant to test your resolve. And with every storm he endured, Ryan became stronger, sharper, more determined, until one day, the world began to notice, the roles got bigger, the spotlight grew brighter, and the man once dismissed as not enough became the very definition of resilience and reinvention. An actor who not only entertained but inspired, who proved that behind every success story is a hidden war, fought in silence, with courage as the only weapon. And as Ryan's career took off, from sitcoms to blockbuster films, from early struggles to finally donning the iconic Deadpool suit that would redefine his legacy, his story became living proof that rejection is not the end but the beginning, that depression is not a life sentence but a battle you can fight and win, and that even when the world laughs at your dreams, you can rise and give them something unforgettable to applaud. Because the truth is, Ryan Reynolds didn't just become one of the most popular actors in the world, he became a symbol of hope for anyone who has ever felt invisible, unwanted, or broken, showing us all that the scars you carry can one day become the very reason someone else believes they can heal too. As Ryan Reynolds' journey pushed forward, what truly makes his story so motivational is not just the fame and fortune he eventually achieved, but the persistence of his spirit during the long years when success seemed far out of reach. Because in those years, he faced the kinds of challenges that break most people, and yet he found a way to bend without breaking, to keep moving when everything around him screamed to stop. And in that determination lies the true lesson for all of us. Because Ryan knew rejection so well it almost felt like an old friend, sitting in casting offices with dozens of other hopefuls, waiting hours for auditions that often lasted just a few seconds, only to be told he didn't fit the part, that someone else was better. And it was in those moments that the darkness of depression would try to swallow him, telling him he wasn't good enough. But instead of letting it consume him, he found a strange kind of fuel in it, telling himself that every rejection was proof He was at least trying, that every closed door was still a sign he was knocking, and so he kept knocking, day after day, building resilience that would later serve him when the world finally came to know his name. And yet, even when minor roles came his way, the whispers of self-doubt were never far behind. Because depression doesn't care how much progress you've made, it lingers, it waits, it tries to rob you of joy even in your victories. But Ryan's secret weapon was his humor, the way he could take his pain and wrap it in laughter, disarming both himself and those around him, turning suffering into stories that made people smile. And this humor, this refusal to let darkness have the last word, became a survival strategy, and eventually, a career-defining trait. Because while many actors could act, few could blend vulnerability and comedy the way he did. And though people now see Ryan Reynolds as a confident, witty superstar, what they don't often realize is that his humor was forged in fire, born out of necessity, a shield he built in those years when he felt fragile, when anxiety threatened to crush him. And what's inspiring is how he never pretended to be perfect, never denied that depression was part of his life, but instead spoke openly about it, breaking the silence that so often surrounds mental health. And by doing so, he not only healed himself but gave countless others permission to acknowledge their own struggles, to realize that even the most successful people in the world fight battles the public never sees. And then came the turning points, those moments in his career where the hard work began to pay off, slowly at first, then more powerfully, from his early television roles that gave him a foothold, to the movies that began to showcase his talent, to finally landing roles that allowed him to display his unique blend of charm, sarcasm, and emotional depth. But even then, his road wasn't smooth, because Hollywood has a way of building people up only to tear them down, and Ryan experienced both sides of that cruel coin, starring in films that flopped, enduring critics who doubted him, audiences who didn't yet see his potential, and yet, through it all, he kept pushing, because he understood something most people forget. Success isn't about one role, one break, or one chance. It's about consistency, about showing up even when the world ignores you, about refusing to quit when failure seems louder than hope. And his breakthrough moment, the one that would change everything, came after years of persistence, when he took on the role of Deadpool, a character as outrageous and unconventional as Ryan himself. And though the road to making that film was itself filled with rejection, with studios refusing to back it, with doubts and delays that stretched on for over a decade, Ryan never gave up on it, because he saw himself in that character. A misfit who refused to fit into the box the world tried to put him in. And when Deadpool finally hit the screen, it wasn't just a movie, it was a revolution, a role so perfectly aligned with Ryan's spirit that it shattered records, silenced critics, and catapulted him into global stardom. But beyond the fame and success, what mattered more was what the journey symbolized. That no matter how long it takes, no matter how many times people laugh at you or shut you out, if you stay true to your vision and keep pushing forward, the day will come when the world can no longer deny your greatness. And Ryan's journey from depression and rejection to Deadpool and beyond is living proof of that, reminding us all that our struggles do not disqualify us from success, they prepare us for it, shaping us into the kind of people who can handle the weight of greatness when it finally arrives. When we look at Ryan Reynolds' story, it's easy to focus only on the highlight reels, the box office success, the magazine covers, the global fan base. But what truly makes his journey worth telling is the weight of the invisible battles he fought and how he transformed them into fuel for something greater. Because even after Deadpool turned him into a household name across the globe, his life did not suddenly become free of challenges. And that is a crucial truth people often overlook. Success does not erase struggle, it simply gives you new ways to face it. And Ryan, more than most, understood that the battle against depression, anxiety, and rejection was not something that vanished when the spotlight found him, but something he would have to keep fighting even while millions admired him. And what makes his story so inspiring is that he chose transparency. He chose to speak openly about those struggles instead of hiding behind the illusion of perfection. And in doing so, he gave strength to millions who looked up to him, proving that vulnerability is not weakness, but strength in its rawest form. Because here was a man who could make the world laugh yet admitted that behind his laughter were nights of self-doubt, days when the weight of expectation pressed heavy on his shoulders, and moments where he questioned his own worth, and that honesty created a bond with his audience far deeper than any role could. Because people saw themselves in him. Not just the superstar, but the human being, the one who rose from rejection but never forgot what it felt like to be rejected, the one who fought depression but never denied its grip, the one who stumbled many times but kept moving forward anyway. And that is why Ryan Reynolds is more than an actor. He is a symbol of resilience, proof that no matter how glamorous success looks from the outside, it is built on years of invisible work, invisible pain, invisible strength, and what's remarkable is how he has used his platform to lift others, not just through his films but through his actions, whether it's his philanthropy, his advocacy for mental health, or simply his ability to use humor as a universal language that disarms fear and creates connection, because humor, for Ryan, was always more than a career tool. It was survival. It was how he navigated an anxious mind, how he turned fear into something lighter, how he reminded himself and others that even in the darkest times, a laugh could be the crack of light that kept you going, and that truth resonates deeply with anyone who has ever struggled in silence, because Ryan's message is clear. Your scars don't disqualify you from greatness, they prepare you for it, and every rejection you endure is not proof that you are unworthy, but proof that you are still in the fight, still chasing, still brave enough to try. And when people laughed at his dreams, when studios dismissed him, when critics doubted him, Ryan Reynolds refused to quit, and in refusing, he became unstoppable, transforming from a scared boy with anxiety into one of the most beloved actors alive, and yet even in the height of fame, he remains grounded, never forgetting the years that shaped him, never forgetting the pain that gave his laughter depth, and never forgetting that real success is not measured by applause but by impact, by the lives you touch and the hope you ignite. And that is what makes Ryan Reynolds' success story timeless, because it reminds every dreamer, every struggler, every person who has been told no too many times, that one day, if you keep going, if you refuse to let fear silence you, if you turn rejection into motivation, your time will come too, and when it does, you will not only shine, you will inspire, just like Ryan.